active for the good of our nation.
Good morning. It's Friday, the 15th of November, 2024. I'm Paula Ann Porter-Jones, and these are the latest stories from the Radio Jamaica News Centre. And it's a Friday, so our newscast is brought to you by Courts, bringing value home. The St. Catherine Health Department says several schools in St. Catherine have reported cases of the hand, foot and mouth disease. In response, Deputy Chief Public Health Inspector Denise Douglas says the department has singled out 2 areas in the parish where there is a high incidence rate.
We have targeted interventions taking place, particularly in those areas where we are noting the most reports of cases. That would be Linstead and Spanish Town.
Deputy Chief Public Health Inspector for St. Catherine, Denise Douglas. She was speaking at a meeting of the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation on Thursday. Less than 2 weeks ago, the Western Regional Health Authority stressed the need for increased vigilance following a surge in hand, foot and mouth disease cases across the Caribbean. The disease, which primarily affects infants and children under 5, can also affect adults. It is contagious and spreads through direct contact with bodily fluids, respiratory droplets, contaminated surfaces, and the fecal-oral route. Symptoms include fever, mouth sores, and rashes on the hands and feet. From January to late October, 318 cases were reported, representing a 106.5% jump from the 154 cases reported over the similar period last year. The 2 men caught with 2 illegal firearms and several rounds of ammunition at a bar in Gutters, St. Elizabeth earlier this month have been charged with murder. 35-year-old chef Sean Reed, otherwise called Soji, and 30-year-old Romano Smile, an electrician, both of Knockpatrick, Manchester, were charged yesterday for the October 17 shooting death of 62-year-old Agri Atkinson at Magarty in the parish. Head of the St. Elizabeth Police, Superintendent Coleridge Minto, says the men are facing additional charges.
Both of them were charged with the offences of murder, conspiracy, robbery with aggravation, using a firearm to commit a felony, possession of prohibited weapon, unauthorized possession of ammunition. There are also 2 other suspects that we are pursuing as it relates to this investigations, and at an appropriate time I will name them as persons of interest for the public.
Commanding Officer for the St. Elizabeth Police Division, Superintendent Coleridge Minto. It's reported that on November 1, the police were on operation in Gutters when Reed and Smile were seen in a Nissan Eddy wagon parked at the front of a bar. They reportedly searched a brown bag seen in the console of the vehicle, and the 2 firearms were found. Both men were subsequently charged. The woman who was charged with the stabbing death of her common-law husband during a domestic dispute in Westmoreland 4 years ago was found not guilty in the Westmoreland Circuit Court. Monef Cephas was freed of the murder charge on Wednesday. She was charged for the murder of 27-year-old Kemar Williams. It's reported that Williams, a labourer of Prospect District in Frome, and his girlfriend of Tivoli Gardens, Kingston, got into a heated argument at their home in a section of Frome called Red Hills. It's further reported that Williams started to beat his girlfriend, who allegedly used a knife to stab him in the upper body. Justice Minister Delroy Chuck is again warning justices of the peace that the ministry has taken a zero-tolerance approach against JPs collecting money from members of the public for their services. There have been complaints that some JPs have been charging for their services. Speaking in St. Mary yesterday, Mr. Chuck acknowledged that JPs are being called upon to do a lot of work, but reminded them that their service is voluntary.
It is a position of trust. It is a position of standing. It is a position that makes you stand up in your community. The last thing we would want to do is when people come to you and say, $5,000. And those GPs who are charging, I say, stop it. In all sincerity, your integrity is worth more than the $10,000 than the $5,000. It must be done voluntarily. Your reward is that you feel good that you're helping another citizen. That's your reward.
Justice Minister Delroy Chuck. Director General of the Planning Institute of Jamaica, Dr. Wayne Henry, says the provision of affordable housing must be coupled with making them resilient. Dr. Henry warns of an urgent need to bolster the country's housing stock to withstand extreme weather and promote socioeconomic stability. He says, although the Housing Quality Index is relatively good, currently standing at 78%, there are pockets of substandard housing across the country, including many located in unplanned communities. Dr. Henry says resilience must go beyond housing's ability to withstand storms and other weather phenomena. He recommended scaling up green building practices and incorporating seismic and climate-responsive designs to help create homes that are sustainable and resource efficient.
Resilient housing is not just about construction. It is about empowerment, community strength, and economic stability. The private sector has a significant role to play in this by, among other things, providing resilient homes on the market at affordable prices. Together, we can build Jamaica, and a Jamaica that is not only withstands the forces and vagaries of nature, but thrives in the face of them.
Director General of the Planning Institute of Jamaica, Dr. Wayne Henry. He also called for the strengthening of urban zoning policies, greater enforcement of the building code and standards, as well as more economic and social safety nets to support families financially. The World Bank says it has expanded its lifeline to the Caribbean and other small countries struggling to rebuild from disasters. The World Bank says this will allow them to postpone loan and interest repayments after a catastrophic event, so governments can focus on recovery rather than paying off debt. The Washington-based financial institution said its climate-resilient debt clause now covers all natural disasters, including droughts, floods, and health emergencies like pandemics. The World Bank said St. Vincent and the Grenadines exercised the deferral option after Hurricane Beryl. So far, the World Bank said 14 countries out of 45 that are eligible for CRDCs have included this clause in their loan agreements. President-elect Donald Trump has named Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as his pick for Health and Human Services Secretary. In a statement, the president-elect said Kennedy, a known vaccine skeptic, will help protect Americans from harmful chemicals, pollutants, pesticides, pharmaceutical products, and food additives. Kennedy is one of the most prominent anti-vaccine activists in the world and has long advanced the debunked idea that vaccines can cause autism and other health issues. Trump has been selecting his top team since winning the U.S. election last week. His party is projected to win the House of Representatives, meaning the Republicans will run the White House and all of Congress. And now, to end this newscast, the main points. Several St. Catherine schools report cases of the hand, foot and mouth disease. 2 men caught with illegal firearms and several rounds of ammunition at a bar in Gutters earlier this month have been charged. Director General of the Planning Institute of Jamaica, Dr. Wayne Henry, says the provision of affordable housing must be coupled with making them resilient.